I want to try and inspire you to think bigger about innovation, to think outside, the norms of your industry, and try and help you break some of the constraints that seem to hold your sector back. And what that did at the time was set in motion a series of events, and it set in motion 6 years of reinforcement that innovation and adaptability and change and ability to move with customers and changing trends and all those things, it set in stone the need for innovation. Everyone has a strategy until they get punched in the face. And I think metaphorically, the crash and the recession, Lehman Brothers has metaphorically punched many of us in the face. Businesses, customers, consumers, governments. Yeah, we've taken that hit, and it's affected us in a big way. Some of us have been lucky, and we've got up, and we've survived the 10 count, to use another boxing analogy, and we've ploughed on. The challenge is, I think, the biggest punch in the face is yet to come. And the biggest punch in the face for me is, while the recession's gone on, and most of us have hunkered down and we've done whatever we needed to survive, the world has completely changed. And I think now the biggest punch in the face that many of us face, or will face, is we're completely out of line and we're misaligned with where the world is now. And our biggest challenge over the next few years is going to be, how do we realign our organizations? How do we use innovation? And how do we become relevant again? And then how do we stay relevant in order to thrive and succeed? And I think that paves the way for innovation being one of the most important tools that we all need to build. The first thing to learn is that to succeed through innovation, you've not only got to change what you think about innovation, you've got to change fundamentally what your whole industry thinks about absolutely everything. You've got to change what you think about customers. You've got to change what you think about consumers, trends, the future. You've got to think completely differently about your whole industry. I think what holds many of you back is you think too much within the constraints of your industry. And yet, we've seen great examples of people completely destroying sectors and industries that they shouldn't have done. We've got Skype, who are the biggest telecommunications provider in the world, yet they've got no network infrastructure. We've got Amazon, who are the biggest bookseller in the world, and they haven't got one bookstore. We've got brilliant examples of organizations that think differently and have disrupted different markets and different sectors. And your industry is no different. It has the ability to do that if you only start to think widely and think bigger about how innovation can help you achieve that. It's not the strongest of species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. Clever guy said that a hell of a long time ago, but it's absolutely relevant today. Legacy, size, you guys saying, yeah, but we're a big company, we've been around for years, we'll be okay. That has no currency in the world that we operate in today. No currency whatsoever. The big thing you guys need to understand is your competition isn't in the room. It used to be. Your competitors aren't sat behind you, next to you, in front of you. Your competitors, most of them, probably don't even exist yet, but within the next few years they will. They're not, and because of that, they're not even on your radar. You don't even know that they exist. So you can't look out for them, you can't prepare for them, and you don't know where they're going to come from. But they're going to come quick, and they're going to come from an angle that you just can't defend, you can't prepare for. And the big change from a leadership point of view is we need to understand how to lead for innovation. And leading innovation is fundamentally different than the traditional form of leadership and management. It requires new skills and it requires new behavior. And unless we start working on that as one of the core focuses, we can't expect to build cultures of innovation. We can't expect to drive innovation capability throughout our organizations. We have to fundamentally change how we do things and how we operate as businesses if we want different behavior and different outcomes. So I think experience and bringing those customers, consumers into the whole way we operate, our innovation process, into the heart of our organization is where we need to start moving to. And that fundamentally changes our strategy from moving away from what we do to how we do things. Start to think about how you can differentiate those products, even if the product stays the same. But what we can't continue to do is expect customers to buy when the product line is homogeneous. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about experience. Imagine your brand, your bank, creating the same feeling and the same experience in its customers as this guy. Imagine that. But the reality is, if you get innovation right, and if you build game-changing innovation capability, if you do it in line with customers, if you co-create with customers, and you make it absolutely relevant, there's no reason why a bank can't make a customer feel like that. No reason whatsoever. So here's the other thing that I want you to take away today. One of the things that will help you drive real game-changing innovation is understanding the subtlety between product design and experience design. There's no reason that you have to fundamentally change your products if it's too difficult for you to do so. What you can change is how you deliver those products, what they look like, what the buying process is, what the experience is like, and those are the simple things that innovation will help you do and how it will help you differentiate from your competitors. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to wait for massive amounts of technological advances to be able to innovate. Sometimes innovation can be beautiful because it's simple. The second thing I want you to take away is you need to get better at having beautiful product visions, and never losing sight of that. But you need to get better at prototyping, iterating, design. You need to get better at getting the minimal viable product out there, and then you test it with customers, not on them. The better you get at that, the better you get at iterating, refining, prototyping, the better your solutions will be, the more aligned to customers they'll be, and if you do that in collaboration with customers, the more likely it is that those customers will buy because they feel linked to them and the solution is exactly what they need. Not close to what they need, it's exactly what they need. That's what you guys need to get better at. I spent 15 years in the design industry, and that is what we're phenomenal at. We understand the subtleties between product and experience design, and we understand how to iterate, how to refine, how to prototype, until we get it right, and then we get it to market. And you guys need to get much better at that. That's a fundamental part of the innovation process. So here's another statistic for the number lovers out there. Again, if you look at the average numbers from the majority of surveys, 75% of CEOs name innovation in the top 3 priorities now. About 18 to 20% of them place it at number 1. But of those 75%, only 40% have got an innovation strategy or an innovation process in play in the organization at the moment. So as leaders, this is the second gap that I want you to think about when you have conversations today and when you go back to your businesses. How do we address the gap if we're part of those statistics? If innovation's a priority, we must build a strategy for it. We can't expect innovation to just happen and bubble around the organization so that we can tick the box and say, yes, we're doing innovation. We must approach it strategically. If we don't have a plan, then we're sailing without a rudder. And yes, we're going somewhere and stuff's happening, but is it aligned to the corporate strategy? Is it aligned to the direction the organization's going? Is it aligned to our values? Or is stuff just happening? When you all answered, or the ones that answered the survey today, before today, And the question was, who's doing innovation, and if you're not, why not? 90% of you said yes. So 90% of the people in this room said, yes, we are doing innovation. I salute the 10% that said, no, we're not, because I salute them for being brutally honest. My challenge to you guys is, for the 90% of people that said yes, why did you tick yes? Because you've either ticked yes because there's a few little things that are happening that you label innovation, or right at the other end of the scale, you've ticked yes because you've got a clearly communicated, defined innovation strategy aligned to your corporate strategy and goals, aligned to your organization's values. You've got leadership development going on in your organization specifically about how to lead for innovation. And you've got a program to build innovation into the culture of your organization. If that's why you ticked yes, then I salute you people as well. What I would ask you to do is be brutally honest about why you ticked yes and where you actually sit on that scale. My guess is most of you are down this end. Innovation is too critical to say we are doing it because we feel we have to, because we think everyone else is doing it. It's too important. As leaders, we need to clearly show that we challenge the status quo, that we're constantly saying, what if, what next, what could we do? We demonstrate, we challenge industry norms and orthodoxies in order to get people to think differently. We need to inspire people to want to innovate. And then we need to put tools, strategies, processes, systems, cultures, whatever it takes, we as leaders need to put those in place to then give people the environment and the tools to be able to deliver innovation. I fundamentally believe that every organization and every employee in those organizations has the ability already to solve any challenge that that organization faces. What we typically do with innovation and what we see in big organizations is we see them developing creative thinking programs and teaching people how to brainstorm better. We give them new tools because we think that is where innovation comes from. You don't need to teach people how to be creative, they already are. You don't need to teach people how to brainstorm, they already can. You can teach them to get better at it, but what you need to do is remove the barriers that stop them using those skills in the first place. Most of the organizations I go into can't innovate, not because they can't, but because the organization itself stops them. Whether that's management style, whether it's processes, systems, there will be fundamental barriers that stop and inhibit that organization and people in it from solving problems, solving challenges, coming up with ideas, and innovating. And as leaders, our challenge and our primary goal is to remove those barriers. Innovation needs to connect with people. It needs to connect with customers on an emotional level, and it needs to solve real challenges. It's not about designing stuff that we want to sell. It's about designing stuff that customers actually need. When you build a culture of innovation, the volume of innovation increases because you make everyone aware that they can contribute. When you pigeonhole innovation around products and services, only a small number of people in the organization say, actually, I've got some ideas on that. The majority of people say, can't really contribute, I don't know enough about that. So you must build environments where everyone can contribute ideas, because dozens and dozens of small incremental ideas are just as powerful and can be just as game-changing as one needle in a haystack. So my final question is, what are you prepared to change? And it's twofold. What are you prepared to change in terms of your organization? And as leaders, what are you prepared to change?